Hi, my name is Nicolas Marcoux. I'm MSSP architect at Palo Alto Networks. I've been using Prisma Cloud for nearly 2 months, and I wanted to showcase via demo what I learned and what I found really great. So for the context, as you may know, Prisma Cloud is very broad and sophisticated. So for sake of time, I'm only focusing on a subset of what Prisma Cloud is capable of. But I wanted you to keep in mind that Prisma Cloud has been designed for multi-cloud. It applies for multiple workloads, hosts, containers, and functions. And I've noticed only in 2 months that it gets better every month. So that's really cool. So the starting point is an application that is running here. So it's a NGX server showing a web page, and it's running on EKS. And what I'm going to do is that I will start with the hacker. So the hacker is getting to the container and is able to do nasty things. So let me go there. So first of all, what it can do is that, let me show you who is the hacker. So he's running as root, unfortunately. Is able to do some curl commands on lateral movements. So for instance, that is a MySQL database that we will see later. Is able to use apt-get, so to install software. So let's install text editor. And what we are going to do now is we have a text editor. We are going to edit the welcome page. So let me do this. You in act. Okay, so now it's done. Let's take a look again about the welcome page. Yeah, now it's updated. So unfortunately, the page so it has been hacked. So they succeeded the attack. So now what I'm going to do, the whole purpose of the demo is to understand what went wrong, what we could have done better with Prisma Cloud. And from the far right, which is the application, protecting the application, up to when we started to build the application with Docker files with Jenkins. So first of all, at the last resort, what we can do is runtime defense, so avoid byte commands. We can do WASP protection to protect the web server. We can do microsegmentation to avoid lateral movements, and suspicious IP to detect who bad actors are trying to access workloads. So let's get started. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to Prisma Cloud. So this is showing all the containers deployed. So in my case, let me refresh. My application is running here. So this is my application. I see that there was an attempt to connect to MySQL, by the way. I can see this application is having, unfortunately, many incidents, many vulnerabilities, sorry. So there is a big problem here. So what I'm going to do now is to turn on the policies. So let's turn on first the runtime policy, enable. By the way, let me quickly show you, this is very sophisticated. I'm not going to detail, but we can have anti-malware monitoring. We can deny processes. We can deny networking, allow networking, DNS, file system. So this is very broad on the capabilities. Then I'm going to enable the WASP protection. So let me enable that. So now, first, let's go back to the attacker. So let's try again to run some commands. And now we see that those type of commands are rejected because they are part of my policy to be rejected. So he's not able anymore to install software. Now let's take a look about the applications. So I can still access the applications, but now if I try to run some SQL injections, I'm going to land to Prisma Cloud denied because it's hitting the WAS and it's protecting the applications. However, I can still access the workload if it is fine. Okay, so yes, let's showcase the micro-segmentations. So I need to go there, micro-segmentations, namespace. I will, by default, it was here allowed. Now I will reject everything. So it will mean that afterwards, I would need to build some policies that can be derived automatically by the system. Actually, it's via the app dependencies. So you can see my workload here. So my application is here. We can see it's accessing the internet. And now if I go back to the yes, the application is not permitted, so I cannot anyway use curl because I denied it. So never mind, it's denied, but it would have been blocked and no result because of the micro-segmentation. Okay, so let's move on now. We can enable here. Let's go back to compute part. Vulnerabilities. Images. So that what I'm going to do is to enable these policies. And what this policy does is to avoid to deploy application having critical vulnerabilities. So let's go back there. Let's get out of this. So now what I'm going to do is try to run a new deployment. So let's call it deployment 2. So it's creating the resources. However, now if I check the namespaces, it will keep and being stuck run container error because it's being blocked by the policies. So here we are preventing to run any new containers that are having critical vulnerabilities. Another good thing is that we can prevent also to use non-trusted images. So let me showcase this. So first of all, let me show that. So I can use this container. So let me first delete it. It was already running. So I delete this CentOS container. I can reapply it. So it's created. I can check that it's now running. So the CentOS are here. So Agile running for 7 seconds. So that is CentOS is coming from Docker Hub. But what I can do now is I can go to compliance. I can enable my policy. And this policy says it's only going to allow images coming from my private registries, which is here, and which is my NGX application. And everything else is going to be rejected. So let me again delete it. And let me again apply it. So I will check again the namespace. So you can see here now the CentOS is in run container error, similar to the other application, and it has been blocked because it was not having any vulnerabilities, but it's using a registry which is denied. And in my case, I only allowed my private registry. So anything else that is not my registry is going to be rejected to be deployed on the cluster. Okay, so by the way, let me show the slides to showcase where we are. So we showcased blocking images. We showcased to use only trusted images. And now I'm going to showcase IAC, so with Prisma Cloud. So for instance, I can go to code security, so project. And this is my infrastructure as the code that I'm using. And what code security will do is that it will flag all issues. So I need to filter out my application. So here it's my deployment that I was using. And you can see it's going to say things that I should take care of, or in order to harden the security. So there are many things. And if I filter on medium issues, for instance, I will discover that unfortunately, I forgot to avoid being able to do privilege escalations. So that is a common mistake, and that what Prisma Cloud is telling me to enhance. Then what I can do is that I can scan registries. So let me first do one thing. This is my pipeline that I'm using. It's pulling information from a GitHub. So for instance, let me edit Docker file. We'll just do this, and I will add a space, and there is a webhook. So what it's going to do, it's going to dynamically trigger Jenkins, and the new image is going to be built. And my pipeline that I will explain in a few minutes is going via multiple stages, and we'll see what Prisma Cloud can do. So here it is scanning images to understand what are the vulnerabilities. So here we have build 188. And afterwards, there are some things that I will explain. So what I can do is that I can see image vulnerabilities either in Jenkins, because there is a plugin. So if I click here, I have all the vulnerabilities. So again, this is a bad image, as we can see. Or I can go in Prisma Cloud. So let me go to vulnerabilities. Image registries. So I will refresh, will scan. So here I see all images that I built and that are vulnerables. So if I click, I will refresh. So here it's my build 188 that I just cooked. And if I click on here, again, I have similar information as I showed in Jenkins plugin. I can have view on compliances. I can view on layers. And for instance, I can understand what is the root cause of the problem is that I'm using a very old NGX version 1.12, which is 3 years old. And of course, because it's 3 or even more 4 years old, it has many vulnerabilities. And another thing is that I can have an understanding about sandbox, because in my pipeline, I'm sandboxing the images. So if I click here, I can see that this particular image despite it having vulnerabilities, it is not having malware or stuff like this. So, and by the way, in the container behavior, I can see that NGX is the process being used. I can see the networking part. I can see that port 80 is listening. I have information on file system. So this is really powerful. And again, I can see all images that were used and scanned. So that, let me go to the pipeline. So that is done at this stage, Prisma Cloud sandboxing. So in my case, it was configured to 5 seconds in order to build quickly, but usually you will run it for several minutes in order to understand how the containers is behaving. And behind the scene, we are leveraging the well-known wildfire in order to detect the behavior and whether we have malware. Okay, so now let me enable a policy in Prisma Cloud. So vulnerability image, sorry, I need to go to defense, image, images, register, CI policy. Yeah, that's where I wanted to go. So here I'm going to enable this policy. So it's going to fail if there are any critical vulnerabilities. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to trigger the pipeline again. So either I can trigger it via modifying, for instance, a Docker file, or I can run it directly via Jenkins. So let me trigger the build now. So the process is going on. And for some reasons, the image was not blocked. So it was, sorry, it's not blocked at the build image, it's blocked at the Prisma Cloud scan image, because we need first to build it and then to scan the image. So if we see in the logs, we can see that it was stopped by Prisma Cloud because it was not meeting the standard of the policy. And we should be able to see it in monitor. So vulnerabilities, image. Okay, so we see that build 189 has been stopped by Prisma Cloud because it was hitting the policy. This policy was denying critical vulnerabilities and is full of vulnerabilities. Okay, so yeah, let's move on. So what I demonstrated, it's block images with vulnerabilities. I showcase a sandboxing. And the last step is we can check what was initially wrong definitely in the Docker files. And let me showcase this. So I go to code security projects. And I select Jenkins. So this is where I have my Docker files. And here I can see the mistake is coming from this line. I'm using very old NGX 1.12, which is having a lot of vulnerabilities. So that is the problem that is generating, and the image was really vulnerable. So again, then we have other advices. Health check is not used. User has not been created. So it will help to harden these Docker files and this pipeline. By the way, in the supply chain view, we can see, let me check mine. We can see in complex applications how the pipeline is done. So you see that I have this ISE, I have my application, my type of deployments. I have this Docker file with those library used. So it's really helping in order to understand how things have been built. Okay, so we are almost at the end of the demo. So last thing I can do is let me edit this NGX. I will comment this line and I will use now the latest. So latest is going to trigger again a build. I hope that in the latest NGX, there are no critical vulnerabilities. So let's check this out. So it went through. So fortunately, there are no critical vulnerability in the latest NGX image. So the pipeline is running. So build 190 is going to be available in my private Docker registry. So let's finish it. So let's refresh the page. Okay, we have 190 that is available. It's latest also. I double tag to make it easy. So what I can do now is let me deploy again. So app deployment. So I need to, yeah, I can apply it. I think it was not running. No, it was, yeah. Okay, let me actually let me first delete it to make sure there are no confusion. Delete. So delete is in progress. It takes sometimes a bit of time, but it will work eventually. And while it's being deleted, what I'm going to do is apply again using this latest image. So now it's okay. So everything has been created. So what I can do now is go to Radar view. Let me go here. So you see that now my EKS, my app NS2 is running. So it means that because it was latest image, it was not having vulnerabilities, it managed to be built by the Jenkins pipeline. It was not blocked by all policies. And if I click on here, because it's latest image, it's only having one high risk vulnerability. So that is the good thing. And the image is going to be protected by the WASP, by the runtime policies, so everything that I showcased before. Okay, so that is the end of the demo. So again, this is the starting point, what the application. We protected the application, and then we harden in order to prevent a bad application, bad images being deployed, harden the template, check the registries, harden the Jenkins pipeline with blocking wrong images, sandboxing, and at the very first, the Docker files that were work. So that is what Prisma Cloud is able to do. So again, I hope you enjoyed the demo. As I said at the beginning, I've only been using Prisma Cloud for 2 months, and I really enjoyed it and really find it's very powerful. So I encourage you to try it out, and I will keep you posted with further demos in the futures. Thank you.